Hello everybody and welcome back here to IndySportsCrew.com. I'm Thad Van Evener and welcome in once again to another Monday night reaction as we're going to look back at the Colts victory versus the Browns. And let's face it, it was a very, very ugly football game. It was not the prettiest of games, but you know, there's only one beautiful thing that can come from an ugly game, and that's a win. And that's what the Colts got on Sunday. The Colts beat the Browns 17-13 at home at Lucas Oil Stadium. There was a couple nice things to see from the game. A couple things that you'd want to see fixed by the Colts, but all in all, they did get another victory. They moved to 3-3 on the season and even up their record. But and one thing that I think the Colts need to look at, and I'm sure that they are, I'm no NFL coach, but it seems like of late the Colts have been good in one half of the game, not as good in another half of the game. Now, it could be the first half they're good or the second half they're good. If you look back at the Packers home game, they were not very good in the first half. They trail by 18 points at halftime, come back in the second half and have a huge second half. Reggie Wayne and Andrew Luck went crazy, had all kinds of offense. If you look back at the Jacksonville game that they played at home, they played very, very well in the first half. Not much happened in the second half for them, and they ended up losing that game at the end. This game yesterday against the Browns was very similar. Played very well in the first half, got up early, they were up 14-6, looked like they were well on their way to another home victory, and then in the second half, they just didn't really do much on offense. It was, I don't want to say they were just holding on and hoping to win, but they just weren't making very many plays on offense. There was a lot of punts. McAfee was out there a lot doing that, and so you kind of like to see that balance out. Obviously, you want to play as well as you can in each half, but they're not able to tie both halves together of late, and that's something that you would be concerned about as they move forward. But you'd like to see a little bit more consistent play in both halves of the game. One thing that was very positive from the game, and we talked about this negatively last week in the Jets game, was the play of the offensive and defensive line. Against the Jets overpowered and manhandled the Colts on both fronts. They just dominated the trenches. Well, yesterday against the Cleveland Browns, the defensive line and the offensive line for the Colts played much, much better. The offensive line supplied 148 rushing yards for the Colts. That's much better than they have been, and they're able to turn that out, and I'll get back to one of the reasons why in a little bit, but the running backs played well, but some of that is that the offensive line looks like they're starting to get into a little bit of a rhythm. You know, they've been such a hodgepodge unit. They haven't been a lot of cohesion up there, and maybe they're getting past that. They're working through it. I feel like Anthony Costanzo's been pretty solid, and Satelli's been all right when he's not nicked up, which he still is, but he's a little bit healthier now, and he's played better in the past couple of games, so you hope that can continue, and you hope that that cohesion is there, and they're able to move forward and get better as the season progresses along. And then the defensive line for the Colts was some guys that you've never heard of. They had a guy named Guy playing up there on the defensive line yesterday. Guy. Anyway, so the defensive line, they hold the Browns to 55 rushing yards. And so far this season, the Browns have been predicated on running the football and then opening up some passing lanes for Brandon Whedon on the play action. Well, Trent Richardson was a little bit nicked up, but their backup had a very good game the week prior, but they were able to hold the Browns to only 55 rushing yards, and I think that might have been the key difference in the game. Whedon was forced to try to make some plays, and he did have a pretty solid game, but you know, that's just not the game plan that they want to force into a game. They don't want to just go out and throw it 41 times, which is what they had to do in yesterday's game. And you do have to look at that one play, the deep ball to Josh Gordon on the goal line, that, you know, he catches that, it's a totally different ballgame. The Browns actually gave the Colts a couple of points, one with Josh Gordon dropping the sure touchdown pass, and then early in the game where they botched the point after attempt and didn't get that to go through. So that's a couple of big plays in the game that went the Colts' way, went in their favor. But the last thing I want to touch on, and this goes back to the offensive line, was the play of Vic Ballard. You know, he got his first start against the Jets last week, and he played okay in that game, but like I said, the offensive line just was not able to do anything against that Jets defensive front seven. But yesterday against the Browns, offensive line played much better, and Vic Ballard had a very, very nice game of running back. He had 20 carries for 84 yards, and even bigger than that, a 4.2 average, which is a big key in an offensive set like the Colts want to run, where they're not basically dominated by the run, but you have to have that balance in there, and the average is what gets you there. And then the other thing is his big 26-yard run at the end of the game, which basically sealed the victory for the Colts. You know, they were trying to milk the clock, bleed the clock out. He bust one off for 26 yards. Yeah, the Browns did get the ball back for 1 second late in the game, but if he doesn't go for that 26-yard run and pick up that first down, it's a much different game, and Brandon Weeden has an opportunity to go on one last scoring drive to see if he can get the Browns into the end zone. Overall, an ugly football game, but a win is a win, and you're going to take that anytime you can get it in the National Football League. And now you go to a divisional opponent this week at Tennessee. Tennessee's at 3-4 right now. They're coming off of a tight win over Buffalo at Buffalo, so a road victory for the Titans. But so the Colts go to Tennessee, and it's the Colts' opportunity right now. They sit at 3-3. Their first chance to go over 500 this season to try to get to 4-3, and it'd be the first time they'd have a winning record going into a game, or coming out of a game, I should say, since 2010. So big things going on for the Colts right now. You'd like to see a little bit more progression, a little bit more balance on offense, but you have to be happy that you did get a win, and you have an opportunity to pick up a divisional win at Tennessee and get over 500. Thank you for joining me here on Monday Night Reaction. Hope you like IndySportsCrew.com. Good talk, and we'll see you again out there. Thanks.